All right, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the late start. Get going here. All right. You see U.S. markets kind of had a bit of a sideways session, really low volatility, really low volume as well. Just continues to kind of grind higher. You can see S&P futures have opened up again this morning after a good overnight session out of Asia. We're really seeing a lot of mediocre, I think, earnings data out of the U.S. So it's quite impressive that the market continues to just kind of grind higher like this. But I think markets obviously seem to be a little bit overweight and are relatively happy with the monetary stimulus that's come out of Japan and other things that have market data that has come of late. So we continue to see the same sort of action, and we've got to stick with it until it changes. All right, you can see there Asia, nice session, up across the board. Hong Kong in particular was up over 2.2%. China also had a very, very good day. We've seen, I think it's an 8-week high out of Asia. So you can obviously see that the spillover from the U.S. is starting to come into global markets. I think that's really important. Also, the last few sessions we've also seen commodity prices that have continued to just drive higher. Gold price breaking out, copper coming up to test 320. Really, really solid moves across the board there. Oil at several month highs. So really important what we're watching here. The Fed tapering is just kind of gone out the window. Guys have kind of forgotten about that. I think Bernanke's kind of calmed the fears that he's going to be backing off too soon, and so the market's feeling happy about life again. All right. We had Texas Instruments that were out last night after hours. There was a beat on earnings per share, in line or tiny miss in revenue. And this morning we had Kumba that was out with first half numbers, earnings per share at 24.08, expected at 24.05, so a tiny little beat there. Revenue was a small miss, 26.3 billion, expected at 26.7 billion. So I'd say those two probably balance each other out. But divvy per share came in 90 cents better than expected at 20 rand 10 cents. They also make comments saying steel fundamentals remain under pressure as the Chinese economy slows down, with manufacturing activity receding as a result of the declining export orders. So I think that's nothing new that the market doesn't already know about. But we'll have to watch and see how this thing trades today. Those are quite in line in terms of the overall expectation. So it might be a little bit of a lackluster trading day out of Kumba. But watch it closely, see if it's if someone reacts, if the market reacts a little bit more aggressively to something that we haven't really seen. Today in the States, we've got United Technologies, one of the big conglomerates there. It's a great industrial bellwether to look at. We've also got Altria. We've got UPS. UPS, another great economic barometer. We've got Apple, which everybody knows will be a big focus in the market. And we've got AT&T. Those two coming after hours. All right, market data out today. We've got French business confidence. We've got house price index in the States. We've got Richmond Fed in manufacturing in the States, and we've got consumer confidence out of Europe. So another light day of data out today. All right. On another news that I forgot to mention there, I forgot to put into the slide was MTN CFO resigned. If you didn't see that, right before the closing auction yesterday, about 2 or 3, maybe 15 seconds actually before the closing auction, the CFO resigned, and then he's already been replaced. So I don't think it was obviously a sudden resignation or anything like that. So, all right. Let's have a look at the maps. First thing we'll look at here is platinum. Obviously, we've had this big run up across the board in commodities, especially precious metals the last couple of days. You can see platinum coming up here to test resistance on this downtrend that's been going from the beginning of the year. Remember, just in February, we were up well above 1,700, up close to 1,750. And then only the other day, I think we dropped below 1,300. So, this has been a hell of a down move. I think this is important. We're coming up to test resistance here, and if we get above this level, I think we can move significantly higher. All right, Woolworths. We'll show Woolworths here. Woolies has kind of been the outperformer of late. We talked about it the other day. It was starting to look a little bit inverse head and shoulder-ish. Kind of still is, to be honest, with a line sort of around right there. To break above that level, it would probably still look much like an inverse head and shoulder pattern. But you can see here, let's take that away. We're kind of starting to flag now out of the sideways move on the pullback that we've seen out of these retailers, and really feels like we put in a little bit of a floor here around 64, and I would pay attention to that level with a little bit more significance over the near term. I would say that if we can get up to 66 on a closing basis, that these things could have a nice move to the upside. Remember, we had good retail numbers the other day from South Africa, but we've seen some individual numbers that have been reasonably poor of recently. To follow on the back of that, obviously Truworths had a trading statement yesterday. You can see the plunge that it took on the day. I think the big thing was that 74% of their sales came from credit, which is a bit of a disaster, considering what they've done to Able and all these other credit-sensitive stocks. You can see here we're actually breaking down. If I could rotate this a little bit, you would see it looks a little bit like a bit of a sideways head and shoulders formation or a slanted head and shoulders formation. We've broken down out of this now, but I think it's important that you can see how consistent this trend line was going all the way back to basically the beginning of June. We broke down out of this wedge pattern, and we still are in a long-term downtrend here, and I would expect this to come down and potentially test the lows in the next couple sessions down around 76. All right. Fashini, same sort of thing. Obviously, you can see, we'd kind of put in a little bit of a bounce here. We were looking like we could also put in a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders if we could break above 102, 103, which would have a nice higher target. This also obviously was hit in line with Truworths on the day yesterday. Very much a similar type company, very exposed to credit. So you can see we sold off down to around 94 on the close yesterday. I think this thing could really get down and test the previous lows at 92. You guys are going to know how to play these lows at if we retest down here, this thing could move significantly lower than that if we break below 92. So just keep an eye on these retailers. I could really have some significant moves on the back of all these these earnings lately. All right, SA Breweries. SA Breweries coming back up to test this line we've shown about 1,000 times over the past maybe month, but we continue to kind of put in lower and lower pullbacks, smaller and smaller pullbacks, which are starting to look like we could potentially make a break to the upside. I mean, obviously it can break to the downside as well, but watch it closely here. The pullbacks are just getting slighter and slighter every time. You can see here we didn't even really get all the way back to this little support trend line here. If we break through, I know that they've got a trading statement coming on Thursday, I believe, and that's one of the things we were discussing yesterday is that the last 3 or 4 trading statements out of SA Breweries have moved the stock 20 Rand on the day. So we're going to break out of this little pattern most likely. If we don't do it today or tomorrow, we'll probably do it on Thursday and probably do it in dramatic fashion. So that could be a big day. Just keep that in mind. Realize where we are and what kind of pattern we're set up in there. Right. Remgro, I just want to show this because the market's been generally trading better for the past few sessions, but this thing has really been underperforming. It's the first time, and I think it's it's important. What we saw yesterday, we saw big outperformance in the mining sector. We saw some general underperformance, I guess, in industrials and banks and things like that. And you can see here we've kind of broken down out of this upward sloping wedge for Remgro. So just keep an eye on these things. I think we could get to a point where we start to finally see some underperformance. I think these things have been outperforming forever and a day, and this thing could move lower out of this. It's just taking a little bit of a turn for the worse. Okay, the last one we'll show here locally is RMI. Nice continuation pattern set up to break out here, potentially above 26. Obviously, the level I think is quite clearly defined here, right at 26 bucks. So if we get above this, I think there could be dramatic room to the upside in RMI. All right, and on London, we'll quickly show IAG. Which is Intercontinental Airlines. We're making a bit of a breakout here as of 2 days ago. Yesterday, kind of a touch of a pullback, maybe potentially a pullback to support here at 285. Nice little pattern that we've got setting up here. I love these little bullish flag patterns like this where the pullbacks kind of get smaller and smaller, and then we finally get breakouts. And then the last one we'll show is Burberry. Burberry, very much looking very similar to some of these other continuation patterns that we've seen in the market. It's starting to become a very popular theme of late, and you can see here right above about 1536. I would actually kind of look maybe to break above the previous high, which is at 1540, the closing high. We can get above 1540. I think Burberry could have could go for a couple pounds. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.